everyone, my name is Ed Knowledge and welcome to another edition of Kayfabe Confessions, formerly Kayfabe Commentaries. But I had to change that name because Lord forbid somebody sue me and take my $350 92 Chevy Lumina. Oh, that would be a crime. That way maybe I could actually get something decent like a bicycle. But anyway, let's get on with the program. First of all, I got a lot of stuff to talk about today, and some of it, well, I'm not really going to get to talk about because earlier in the week this would have been a big story for me, a big deal. But guess what? Now it's not. And you might say, well, what are you talking about? Well, somebody posted my face on their Facebook in a fake magazine cover. And let me tell you what, when I seen it I was kind of shocked, but I was like, huh, pretty funny. So I made one of them and did the same thing. Well, I thought I might have had genuine heat with this guy, but I come to find out, maybe I don't, maybe I do. Really don't know. So therefore, we're going to leave that kayfabe and talk about that another day. But right now I want to talk about something that is definitely on the minds of all the indie wrestlers, and probably even some of the fans have heard this from the indie wrestlers, and that is names. When you say names, what do you mean? Everybody's got a name. No, I'm talking about names coming in and supposedly taking money out of their pockets. For those of you who don't know, a name is a wrestler that may have been in the WWE, he may have been in TNA, or he may be an up-and-riser that is definitely going to have a future in one of those leagues. And let me tell you something, they are sometimes draws and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're good for the company and sometimes they're not. And let me tell you what, sometimes they can help the guys learn stuff and sometimes they don't give a crap. Let me tell you what, I've seen them all. One of the worst ones I have seen, and I know probably some of the other promoters I've seen even worse than this, is Virgil. This guy was disrespectful. He didn't care about anyone but himself. When I was working a show in the SCWA in 2002, this guy told me to go get him a hot dog. Now that may not have been that big a deal because I was just a commissioner on the show. But the thing was is I was dressed up in my suit. I was ready to go out. And at the same time, this guy wants me to go get him a hot dog. Like anybody is going to just go out there and just grab a hold of Virgil and say, oh, you're the inspiration of my life, Virgil. I want to be just like you. A jobber in the WWE. Well, let me tell you something, Virgil. I know you're not watching this, but anybody who likes Virgil, good for you. Yeah, the guy's been places I'll never go. He's been places a lot of us will never go. But one thing I will never do, and I will never go like him, is going at someone and treating them like crap. Virgil, for that, I give you 2 thumbs down as one of the worst names that has ever been brought into the business. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what are some other names that are good? Well, I've met a lot of good guys. Of course, we got one that works for us right now in the SCWA. Christian York definitely cares about the company. Consequences Creed, I think he was good for the SCWA and all the other leagues around. Definitely worked with the guys. I know all these guys get paid. I know that. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is, are they good or are they bad? Well, it all depends on the wrestler. And if they draw a lot of people in, like let's say a Christopher Daniels did, then it's kind of hard to say the guys are bad. Not saying Christopher Daniels was. He was a good acquisition for the SCWA at the time. But there's been other people that's come in, like Mickie James, who had kind of a diva attitude. Personally, I had no problem with Mickie James that day. She drew a big crowd in for the SCWA, and I'm sure she drew a big crowd in for lots of the other independents. But you think about the ones that have also worked for the SCWA in the same match. ODB. She definitely didn't come off with that attitude like Mickie James had. And no, she may not be the draw that Mickie James was, but at least she had respect. And that is something that these young wrestlers need to learn. That is something that I needed to learn. I got dropped on my head by Don Carson to learn respect. And let me tell you, before I go, I want to name and talk about one wrestler who I recently think that has really, really, really started to care for the independent scene. Not saying that he never did, but I think he has really changed his mind. If I'm wrong, please leave a comment. Just from what I've seen and what I've told, the man I'm talking about is Ricky Morton. I went to a Pure Pro Wrestling show a couple of weeks back, and let me tell you something. I really enjoyed Ricky's work during that match. He embraced the fans. He even told the fans in a speech how much he appreciated them. And I could tell it was genuine. I have been in the business long enough to tell it was genuine. His son was right in the ringside area with me, sitting out there. He didn't know us from anything, but he was having a great time. Ricky had a great time. But in the end, a very entertaining match. A very entertaining promo. Ricky Morton brung heart. Ricky Morton showed everyone, despite his age, despite being an older wrestler, and that's another thing that some people have a problem with, is these older wrestlers. I got no problem with it if you can still bring it. If you've watched any of the promos Ricky Morton cuts, he still don't act like he's 20 years old. Rock and roll, baby. He says, I'm an old man, but I can still rock and roll. He admits it. That is class. That is someone who realizes, hey, I'm not a kid anymore, but I can still draw for these leagues. I can still help these other guys out. And like I said before, I know they get paid. I realize that. But these guys have logged the miles. They have logged the time. He's been in AWA. He's been in NWA. They have been everywhere. These guys have been there, done that. Of course, WCW, they worked in the territories of CWA back in the day, I guess it was. I'm not sure what it was called back then. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you'll put it in the comments. But to make a long story short, some of these guys are great to work with, and some are not. The promoters, they have to pick who is good and who's not. Do these guys bring money in? Well, sometimes it's not all about the money. Sometimes it's about their experience throughout the independents, what they've seen, what they've learned, and what they can bring to your wrestling league or to the wrestling league that you as a fan are attending. Well, that's about all I got to say today. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next time on Kayfabe Confessions with Ed Knowledge. So long.